And then I don't have to worry about being accidentally stabbed by a Wolverine wannabe that I'm forced to cuddle with in line. Whose idea was it to have an episode 20? It wasn't my idea. But welcome. Hi, everybody. Episodes like this are just really fun. Today we're going to ask the question, is Comic-Con a good place to network? And wouldn't you know it, I have an answer for you. Thank you so much for following along, subscribing. I got laid off because of the pandemic, and I'm creating a bunch of businesses and telling stories from my past, and it's a lot of fun. Also, if you're just joining I Will Thrive, I highly suggest going back to the beginning and checking it out because I build on top of a lot of the stories. Okay, so in 2014, I went to a Comic-Con to help my lifelong friend Cam Kendall with his Illustrator booth. We've been buddies since we were 4, but, jobs, kids, school, chankers, more kids, and general adult life and peds on friend hang time. It can be difficult to see even the homiest of homies like Cam is. So I actually relish the time that I get with my close friends. And because of that, I became pretty excited about this Comic-Con when he asked me to help him. Admittedly, once he asked, I very quickly developed an ulterior motive to going. A very famous producer and many famous actors and writers would be there. So why not take the chance and try and network and get my script into somebody's hands? Back then, I only had one script to share, and that was getting Bill Murray, which we've already talked about in detail with this project. But before we get to what happened and how the entire networking experience panned out, let's just review the entire Comic-Con scene. Now, this was my first time attending such a conference, and I have some solid first-time goer takeaways. First, far too much spandex. 9/10 of the people wearing skin-tight clothing at these conferences should not legally be allowed to do so for the sake of all humanity and general eyesight. I mean, I know my place. I'm a big dude. I don't want to see me in spandex. Guaranteed you don't. Also, far too little bathing. I smelled some smells that no man, woman, child, demon of hell, deathmonger, or foul beast of the underworld under the underworld should ever have to smell. Far too many people. The waves of these Comic-Con-y, spandexy, smelly folk was absurd. Absurd. Heck, let's just say it 3 times absurd. And finally, Doctor Who is way bigger than I realized, and Ninja Turtles are still pretty stinking rad. Alright, let's get to the networking stuff. While my main purpose was to help Cam, I managed a way to sneak in my secret networking attempts. First up was trying to talk with longtime producer for Steven Spielberg, Jared R. Mullen. I went to a panel to listen to Gerald speak and hopefully have the chance to pass him a script. He was working on an amazing project, which is Our Rescue, ourrescue.org. It's an organization that teams up and they go out all over the world and they buy back children who are enslaved in sex trafficking circles. If you haven't heard of them, go check them out and get involved. It's one of the most noble and amazing things happening today, and the Ballard guy that runs it is the closest thing to Batman I've ever heard of. Anyway, Gerald was helping produce a film and a television series to spread awareness about this serious and troubling issue. This was the last thing I was expecting to hear about while attending an Uber Geek Comic-Con fest party. I had decided halfway through the panel to forget about approaching Gerald about my stupid comedy movie. After hearing about something so serious and such an important organization trying to combat one of the greatest evils of our time, it didn't seem appropriate at all to talk to Gerald about anything aside from saving kids. But somewhere in the middle of talking about making Schindler's List, Gerald spoke about the American dream. He had started his career in the movie business driving trucks, and he worked his way up. When the panel ended, I decided that I was working on my own American dream and it was worth a shot. I shook off my nerves and I walked up to him after the presentation ended. Gerald is a super nice guy, but he basically gave me the normal Hollywood blanket statement that he can't accept any unsolicited scripts. I felt like I had heard that a million times, which was weird because it was probably the first time I'd ever heard it. Maybe it's just because it sounded like every other legal disclaimer I'd ever heard on any commercial. But seriously, the insanity of trying to get scripts into the hands of someone that could potentially do something with them always made me wonder how on earth new writers ever find any success. While pondering that very question years ago, I stumbled on this phrase, "The cavalry isn't coming." It comes from this great speech that Mark Duplass gave about filmmaking. Basically, it means you have to take matters into your own hands and find a way to just make what you want to make. 99% of the time, someone isn't going to magically show up and give you money or help in any way. It lines up really well to my new I Will Thrive ideology. I even printed it off years ago and put it up in the space for my comedy Fatty and Chubbs channel. It's a killer reminder to just work hard and push forward with your dreams. The whole speech is great. Fair warning though, don't watch it with your mom, unless your mom is a sailor. However, I spent the next 3 days trying to get my script into the hands of as many people as I possibly could. Hey, check out my script if you can find any spare time someday in your life before you die, if you wouldn't mind, is apparently a rough proposition to stomach. The cherry on top of this silly, stinky weekend was a fun-filled photo op session. Are you ready? Okay, go. Picture in your mind everything I already mentioned about the spandex and the rhinoceros butt smell, and then shove thousands of these uber-crazed fans into a small space waiting to get a picture with some Star Trek icon that they love. People wait for hours and hours to stand next to Sir Patrick Stewart for 2 seconds and take a picture with him. After reading my first Bill Murray stories, then you should know about my sentiments on how I feel about autographs. And these photo ops really kind of fall in the same bucket. I'm not dissing your style if you get into this kind of thing. I'm just saying it's not my bag. I would maybe care about having a picture with some celebrity if I actually got to work with them or even had a lunch or something with them. Then the picture has something to reference, a memory of something cool. I can't say that the memory of standing next to Carl Urban for 2 seconds is worth spending $100 on a picture. I'd take a Photoshop picture first. It's just as good. And then I don't have to worry about being accidentally stabbed by a Wolverine wannabe that I'm forced to cuddle with in line. He was wielding some seriously sharp claw things. I'd love to see this guy at the airport. He'd be detained the second he steps out of his car. Also, if I paid money to take a picture with some celebrity, I'm positive my body would rebel against me in trying to be all funny and ensure that I look as stupid as possible in the picture. It happens at the driver's license bureau. Guaranteed it will happen standing next to Chris Evans. But get this, none of that stopped me from spending $100 at this Comic-Con to wait in line for almost 3 hours to get a picture. Is he a nutcase? Well, really, I paid $100 for the chance to hand a script to a celebrity. I don't give a flaming flying fart about the picture. I tried to be as scientific about it as possible. I knew that I had to be the last one in line, otherwise the celebrity would be in a rush to keep pushing people through the line. And I'm sure they can only handle so much spandex and Tom Arnold's belly button smell for so long themselves. This way I can approach the dude and say, hey, I'm your last one, and they can take a sigh of relief knowing that they're finished, and I would have a small chance to pitch my idea and hope that they take the script. Well, being the last in line was ridiculous as people kept showing up late, and I'd have to figure out a way to get to the back of the line to get to the end. I had to go to the bathroom like a million times. Finally, the latecomers had all arrived, and I was the last in line for about an hour and a half. After what seemed like a smelly helly forever, the time came and I was next. I already knew exactly what I was going to say to keep it quick. So right as I'm walking to stand next to the celebrity, they allowed a small family in at the last minute. Crap! There was no way to go back behind them now. I was so ticked off and confused that my plan had failed after 3 hours of waiting that I didn't have time to think about making a cool space cowboy face, which would have been appropriate with this guy. No. I just cranked my head back, advertising my beautiful physique more than usual, and smiled like a goober of Goobtown. Curious who it was? Well, here you go. It was Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion adds about 40 pounds, right? There I am, script in hand and all goobed out, not because I'm standing next to Nathan Fillion, but because my plan had failed. Camera guy told me to smile, and smile I did. A smile of defeat, utter annoyance for the wasted time and money, and most importantly, a smile that best accentuates a sexy double chin. It's honestly kind of weird seeing these old pictures of myself from that time, because I've since lost about 80 pounds, and I can't believe I ever let myself get that big. I was thriving back then, but in a whole other way. I was thriving on donuts and Mountain Dew. Well, maybe I had a quick chance to talk to Nathan quick before that family came up. Nope. The second the photo snapped and I was about to try and talk, Nathan literally put his hand on my back and pushed me out of the way to get to the last family. Oh, man. As I expected, once he was done with them, he hung out in the room for a little bit talking and getting ready to leave. But just before he slipped behind the curtain, I pushed past the volunteer that was blocking me, and I said all I could fit in. Could I hand you a script? The volunteer said, hey! Nathan Fillion said, and Nathan Fillion's girlfriend said, no thanks. And they vanished away. It's quite possible that this would have been the outcome even if I would have been the last one in line. But maybe, just maybe, if I could have shared the idea with him and that this was just a quick cameo role, he would have checked it out. Who knows? I went to the conference with 5 scripts to hand out, and I came home with 5 scripts to burn in a Comic-Con annoyance rage ritual. I might even wear spandex. So hey, if there's any aspiring writers out there, take my personal advice and leave your scripts at home and save yourself the trouble. Handing out full scripts at conferences equals bad strategy. Maybe get an agent or something. Just don't work with any agents named Jim if you can help it, just to be safe. As ineffective as this endeavor proved to be, in a weird way, I'm still proud of myself. At least I was trying to move forward with my dreams. I have 0 regrets in that way. I'm also sure there's plenty of great ways that you could network at a Comic-Con, but this particular method just plain stunk. It reeked the same stench of the very air I took in those 3 days at my first Comic-Con. Oddly enough, many years later, I attempted the exact same strategy with a whole different group of celebrities. But that, my friends, is a story for another day. Thanks so much for watching, listening, subscribing. Check me out on Patreon. You could be my king or queen or something in between, and there's cute little perks and stuff. Rock on. I will thrive on. I will thrive.